This will define everything for the Chicago Bears as we enter week 1 of the NFL season. What does this mean going forward for our Chicago Bears? Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the channel Bears Digest. If you have not subscribed already, please do so. It looks like 67.5% of you have not done so. So please do click that button to stay up to date on news, rumors, updates, and information as we get into week 1 of the season. So, ladies and gentlemen, week 1 is finally here. The regular season is finally here. All of that stuff in the past is gone. All we had to look forward to is this regular season and week 1 on Monday Night Football against the Minnesota Vikings. Today, what we're getting into is how these certain individuals and certain pieces of this team will define the entire season and the success of the Chicago Bears. We're also going to get into some projections and what we think this season will look like record-wise and everything like that. So please drop down in the comments below what you guys think about this season record. What is the floor? What is the ceiling? What is just right for this Chicago Bears team? So we'll jump right into it, starting with this man right here, Caleb Williams. Despite what everybody has said, all of the haters, everything like that, Caleb Williams did have a good rookie season in year 1. All things considered, everything kind of went downhill in terms of coaching, assistants, coordinators, offensive line, everything like that. Everything was just not, it did not go to plan, It looked like Shane Waldron was just a horrible hire from the start. Everybody kind of knew that Matt Eberflus was in over his head there, as well as the head coach. Everybody wanted him to be gone before Caleb Williams got here. Hindsight shows that that should have been the case. Despite all of that, in his rookie season, he had 20 touchdowns, down to 6 picks, almost 4,000 total yards, and he looked good. Now, the things that he does need to clean up is the operation, is the decision-making, is not taking too many sacks. I think if you just take down the sacks from 68 down to about 40, you're going to see a significantly better offense. And that is what Ben has been instilling in him since he has got here. And I think that's really the biggest thing, is just staying in the operation, making sure you are diagnosing everything pre-snap, and then post-snap, what are we doing to prohibit those sacks? It's 1, 2, get the ball out. It's 1, 2, 3, get a check down, or something like that, right? Not taking a sack. Of course, you're going to have sacks. You're going to take 1 or 2 a game, and that's just how the NFL works, right? Those guys are getting paid too. You're going to get sacks on you. That's the nature of the game, right? But everybody takes that, right? Everybody's taking 1 or 2, getting sacked that amount of times in a season. Now, of course, you're going to have some outliers and guys that just naturally don't get sacked and things like that. But the average is about 34 to 40 sacks in a season. So that's fine. Cut that down. That's 30 less or so after, or as opposed to last year. You're going to see much better drive consistency and marching down the field and not many drive killers. So on Caleb, just looking at some PFF stuff, this kind of just confirms some of the numbers that we've talked about. Good grades overall. Rushing-wise, I'd like to see him use his legs even more this year. I think it's going to be something that nobody's expecting. If the passing game is in a groove, we're running a lot of play action, maybe we just take a boot and keep it every now and then. I think it's going to keep the defense on their toes. They're going to be pushing back, trying to cover that pass on play action. I think it's going to be big just to use his legs a little bit more, make this more dynamic in Ben Johnson's scheme. It's going to be very important for this team. Going off of Caleb Williams, we won't spend all that much time on that, since we have talked about that all off season. We're going to get into this man right here, the new head coach, Ben Johnson. He is solidifying his offensive scheme. Everybody is ready to go, ready to play week 1 in the regular season. He is committed to making sure Caleb is ready to go and successful for this year and going forward. With that commitment, we finally have an offensive-minded coach that is committed to not only the aggressiveness as a team, but also making sure they're hammering in on the fine details. The closest that we've had to that is Matt Nagy, and even in his first year, he went 12-4 and honestly should have had a Super Bowl team. But what Matt Nagy didn't do is make this team more aggressive, instill the accountability. All that stuff wasn't there. The same with Matt Eberflus. The accountability and stuff, all that jazz just wasn't there. The things that he was saying, he wasn't actually proving to those players. and therefore they didn't believe in him over time. That's why you kind of saw that team get stale and him kind of fizzle out from there. Matt Nagy also did not have any play calling experience coming into this. He was an offensive mind that was under Andy Reid, but he did not have specific head calling or play calling experience of an offense. And you saw that kind of right away as well. He just kind of fell flat in some certain areas. Ben Johnson is not going to do that. He's going to make sure that everybody is in the right spot and prepared. Now, will the players execute? That remains to be seen. But Ben Johnson will define this season. Last year, there was way too many one-score games, mistakes down at the end of the season. Ben Johnson hopefully should have those things wrapped up. If he does, and this team takes that next step, you should see more wins on paper. I don't care how the schedule looks right now. We don't know what that's going to be like going into the season. Teams that are supposed to be good end up not being good. Teams get injured, things like that. You don't know how it's going to play out. I know the schedule is very rough as it looks on paper, playing the two toughest divisions in football for 10 games out of the 17 this season. That's, no matter how you slice it, it's going to be difficult and tougher than everybody else and what they have to play other than in our division. So going on that note, Ben Johnson is the man that's going to define everything over everybody else. He is the number one guy alongside Caleb Williams that's going to make this team go and fix this entire squad. The next guy that I want to go over, this is going to be a little bit of a wild card. We're going to stay on the offensive side of the ball. It is this man right here, DeAndre Swift. Mostly everything that Ben Johnson relies upon in his scheme and successful offenses is the run game. Okay, we saw it with David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. Those guys are an incredible tandem in this league. How awesome would it be to have David Montgomery on this team right now in Chicago, right? We'll save that for another day. But DeAndre Swift is a good running back. He's just not necessarily the style that Ben Johnson usually plays with. That's why you kind of saw him use a different role for DeAndre Swift when he did coach him in Detroit, and he kind of fizzled out, and they did end up getting rid of him. But I think DeAndre has really been committed this offseason. I think he really wants to be great. He wants to have better vision, running in between the tackles with our interior offensive line and how much better that they have been, or they are. Hopefully, he's going to be a lot better and, see those holes kind of develop more than what he did in the past. So with DeAndre Swift, he's going to be the guy this year that we are depending on in the run game. He's going to be massively important. Last year, he had 17 games played, 253 rushing attempts, 6 touchdowns, 1,345 total yards, 3.8 yards per attempt. That is something that we need to get up. That has to go up and increase this year for us to be successful. We'd like to see that at 4.2, 4.3, something around that line. Yards per game, 79.1. Totally fine there. He was great. He was a good playmaker in the receiving game. Just needs some more consistency in the run game. Receptions, 42, 55 first downs, longest rush of 56, which I believe was against the Commanders there in that game, there in that second half to get that big touchdown on the board. So DeAndre needs to be better in between the tackles. He's a good playmaker no matter what, but he's going to be an X factor for this team. Along with Kyle Monungai, he's going to get some reps as we're seeing right now. We haven't added anybody to the running back room, so those guys are going to be massively important. And with DeAndre, he just needs to have that consistency that Ben is looking for, or else he is not going to be on this team for that much longer after this season. So I like DeAndre as a person. I like him as a worker. He is tremendous on third downs. We just want to see more consistency on first and second down, and that is going to help define this season as well in this offense and the way that they succeed. Going from there, what I want to talk about is some of the defensive players here from last year. Everybody here in the top defensive leaders for this team does return. So we had Kevin Byard leading the way in solo tackles, TJ Edwards and Tremaine Edmonds after that. Montez Sweat, Gervon Dexter, and TJ Edwards led the team in sacks. Now, if you're looking at this number, 5.5, 5, and 4, that absolutely has to get better. Montez needs to be in the 10 to 12 range at least. Gervon Dexter, whatever. We'll kind of see what that defensive line rotation looks like and who's the primary pass rusher for the defensive line. But all of these numbers have to go up. Overall, we were 16th in the league with 40 sacks last year. I believe Dennis Allen is going to bring a lot more pressure, which we'll get into this year from different areas. So you're going to see probably, Kyler Gordon getting a couple of sacks, maybe Jaquan, and things like that as well, kind of mixing it up and who's rushing. I think you're also going to see TJ Edwards stay there in that sack mark there and maybe get Tremaine trying to blitz in as well. Jaylon Johnson led the way or tied for interceptions with Tyreek Stevenson. All those three guys there are still with the team as well. Josh Blackwell still on the squad. And going from that, we need more interceptions. Got to take the ball away more. If we're going to be in these games consistently with good teams, we have to win the turnover battle. That is paramount. Ben Johnson has said it before. Winning the turnover battle is going to be significant for this team, and getting good field position as well. It's going to help boost our offense. Starting at the 50 off an interception or a fumble, whatever, strip sack, that's going to be massive, 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 especially early in the season. So need those turnovers and that turnover margin to excel this year. Last guy that I want to touch on is the man, Dennis Allen. I know we haven't talked too much about the defense. Overall, the defense needs to be good. Last year in pass defense underneath Matt Eberflus for half the season, they were 14th in yards allowed. Not too crazy, not too bad there. It is a passing league. I'm fine with staying halfway. However, rush yards allowed. We were 28th in the league in rushing yards allowed. That is absolutely unacceptable, especially in the NFC North. As we get into the colder months, teams are just going to pound it down your throat when they can't throw it as much in that cold weather. And it's going to be paramount going into the winter and the back half of the season, as well as the playoffs, if that's in the cards. So, have to stop the run and have to run the ball well. That's why we also mentioned DeAndre Swift, about him defining this season as well, and how much of an importance this needs to be. So Dennis Allen, in his history as a defensive coordinator, has always been pretty solid on the defensive side. As a head coach, not so much. Thankfully, he is not a head coach anymore. He's back to his defensive coordinator ways. That's what he is stressing upon, and that's what he is focused on. So I want to bring pressure from different areas. This defensive line has to get home. We have to stop the run consistently, and we have to get turnovers. So that is kind of step one for the defense and the most important things that will define the season there. Now, getting on to our projections for the season. In years past, we have had high hopes, and that hasn't amounted to anything. Especially last year, that is something that we as a fan base kind of get ahead of ourselves a little bit too much. And this year, I think we need to see it on the field first. I think we might have a little bit of a slow start in the beginning while Ben Johnson is solidifying everything. The offensive line is meshing. The chemistry is going good. Caleb Williams is getting settled in, as well as the pass catchers and playmakers as well. I think it's going to be up and down. But overall, we need to show much better physicality on the field. And we need to show much more heart and will to win on the field as well and win some more close games. I think some of this stuff is going to be shored up. The thing with new coaching staffs is some things get fixed immediately. Some things kind of fall behind. I'm not sure what's going to fall behind. Obviously, nobody really knows that yet. We're going to see. That's just the nature of it. Some things fall behind, right? New coaches come in, they change some things up, they focus heavier on certain areas and might forget some other areas, right? With the support system around Ben Johnson, you'd hope that a lot of that stuff is covered. But for me, I guess what I would probably predict is the special teams. I think special teams has looked a little bit bleak in, training camp and practices and preseason, things like that. I think if there's one thing that might fall behind or a little bit that's lacking here to start is special teams. So we'll kind of see how that plays out. That's just a small prediction there. Hopefully it's not, ruining the outcome of games and things like that. But overall, record prediction, in my opinion, as we get into week 1 here to start the season, I am predicting this team at 7 wins. I have them at 7-10. I'm not going to go game by game necessarily. I just think we're going to have a little bit of a slow start to begin the year. And with this schedule, of course, we don't know how it's effectively going to play out throughout the year. But I think 7 wins is in that realm of, hey, we're getting there. We look better, but it might not show up on paper right away. And that's just where I'm sitting at right now in terms of a prediction in my eyes and where we're at this season. But I want to see it on the field. I think this team does have a 10-win ceiling. I think they can win that many games, but everything does have to go right, and they do have to start fast for that to happen. So, with that being said, I'm not being a downer here or anything like that. I'm just in the mode of let's see it first. We want to see what happens, and then we can kind of say, hey, this ceiling is in reach for this team this year. Or next year is going to be the time that we get to that point. I know it sucks every year where we get to a point where it's, next year, things like that. But this is what we want to see. We want to see this team get better, excel in certain areas, just look better on the field, more passion, less mistakes, and the wins are going to come over time. I'm not saying this team can't be a playoff team this year, but my prediction before we see anything physically on the field, on our TV screens on Monday Night Football with Joe Buck and Troy Aikman on the call, we got to stay a little bit humbled, right? I want to see this team impress us rather than us being impressed before they actually do the work on the field. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is what we have in store for this year for the Bears. Super excited to get everything kicked off. We're going to have videos throughout the week. More things pertaining to the actual matchup against the Minnesota Vikings in week 1. I want to hear everything that you guys have to say down below. I know this one's a little bit longer of a video, but I want to hear your guys' projections down below and your predictions of what this team looks like this year. And no matter what, we are excited and we are ready to go. So, bear down.